Hey, sports fans, Sandman Nation. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're here for the divisional round of the playoffs and the national championship game, Brandon. A lot of college football wrapping up last week and the pro football playoffs getting started. And how'd your bets go, man?
I got absolutely destroyed. I um I was on Green Bay in Jacksonville as my two biggest picks. Both of those went the opposite direction. So yeah, I lost about 3/4 of my bankroll in Ben Harper,
Oh,
and I lost about 45% of my value in the Pick'em League that we play in. So yeah, I just got housed. Were you able to do any better than that?
I didn't get housed. I was very middling this week, right? In our pick'em leagues, I hung out on the lower side of middle, and where I actually pressed to gamble killed me. I decided that the Jags Bills would be a great over to take, and it was 51.5, and it came in at 51.
Yeah.
So if I would have hit that and the Jags would have won, I would have been up big on the week. But I missed it. So in turn, my pressing caused me to basically middle through the week because I hit a couple others here
Yeah.
or there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Well,
the game we
it's
play.
hard to not press when if we're thinking about our pick'em league in the playoffs, we have the opportunity to push harder. And
Yeah.
if you don't, you just are kind of left hanging out where you are, where either people go screaming past you one way or the other.
Yeah. Or
Luckily,
falling.
luckily, in our big pick'em league, like all of the top 25 underperformed, or
Yeah.
top 15
Yeah.
underperformed. So luckily, I think a lot of people were on the same mix of games that we were looking at, and that saved us a little bit.
Yeah. A
But
little bit.
when you have absolute, you know, Sandman dollars in Ben Harper,
Oh.
and you happen to have twice as much as anybody else, and then you give back, 75% of it or so, that's rough.
I
So
mean,
so
at
hopefully
some
this is
point
my
in
up
time,
week.
you and I are gonna have to talk about this online so people understand that you just don't play the Jeopardy method. You don't do the math that says I'm gonna bet just a little bit to keep pressing it up and staying ahead and keeping my big lead. You like to
That
dump it all.
that's a good reference because I am playing the new Jeopardy method, with his press as hard as you can at all times if you think you have a better edge than the guy standing next to you.
Yeah.
So every daily double, put all of your money in. When
Press
you
it.
start a category, take the bottom of the category and start working your way back up and see if you can press other people into screwing up, which unfortunately for me, I screwed up. I have more. Well, okay, so there's one other guy. So, it kind of keeps a bet total. Ben Harper, anybody that plays knows you can make 10 bets a week.
Yeah.
I think potentially some counting number is a little bit off because after 19 weeks, it says I only made 189 bets. It should be 190. I don't know. I made 10 bets every week. The next guy made 117.
Yeah.
So, and
The press method,
the guy that's in first place right now has made 35 bets.
which is
So,
insane.
well, and it's just one of those things where he with the parlay route, he is 8-27 in those 35 games, and he has
Ooh.
turned 200,000 Sandman dollars into 502,000 Sandman dollars. So, you know, he's kind of running away with it right this second. Our super contest winner is breathing down his neck
Yeah.
at 471,000, and then there's me and one other guy that are still above the $200,000 mark. But the idea, obviously you can do it a bunch of ways. You can just go here. I'm just going to kind of pace along
Yep.
and try to do your thing. But to me, the only way is to go, I think I've got the best numbers here. So I am going to lean hard on those numbers. Unfortunately, if Green Bay doesn't have one of the most epic breakdowns of all time, it
Yeah.
was nothing like I
No.
was flipping through my phone earlier and I hit a reel that Chase Daniel did covering that Jumpman play from, damn it, what's his name? Quarterback for the Bears,
Caleb
where he
Williams.
jumped. Yeah, Caleb Williams, where he jumped out of that guy's arms and threw the ball downfield, layered it between two people while he was in the air. And the metric was he was moving 13.1 miles an hour to his left when he turned his hips, jumped into the air, and threw it over a guy's head directly into his receiver's arms. Absolutely incredible. It's like a 2% play, a 3% play. It was fourth down. The game's over. If
Yeah.
anybody doesn't do their job there, game over. Life is much better today. And the same with Jacksonville. A fucking Sunshine falls down, running in for a 14-3 lead. Like,
Yeah.
what a stupid mess. Either way, you had
He's done
the
that
right
before.
handicap. Yeah. But like, and everybody does. But damn it, you're not supposed to do it in the playoffs.
No. But he did it earlier
No,
this
you
season.
do
You
it.
remember we had this conversation about him falling down.
Yeah. But who would have thought that we were doing it, in the first round of the playoffs? So, unfortunately, that's how it goes. You have some amount of variance. It hits you at the wrong time. Hopefully, I'll be able to turn this 200 grand back into like 900 grand. Hopefully, we'll revisit this a week from now.
All right.
900 ish
We're gonna hope
ground
you're
should
not
be
bust.
about where we're shooting for. So
Yeah, you're not bust. Well, we got a
now,
couple good ideas we're going to share with everybody, though.
yeah,
So
we
that
got to
we don't
talk
want
through the
them stealing your
games.
ideas.
Well, look, anybody that, wants to get in with me and wants to risk it, be my guest. Come along. We're shooting for the moon.
All right, so I'm going to tell my wife is what you're saying is I'm taking out a second mortgage on the house, and we're gonna call up Circa, take the max bet, and we're gonna do exactly what
Look,
Brandon.
it'll be interesting to see if we get to Saturday and Sunday and we have what amounts to basically no line movement.
Yeah,
Because that means you can go on the open market and you can take the bets that I'm putting out there and you can actually execute them. Most of the time, the upside to playing within these pools is that you have a locked stale number that you can take some EV off of.
Yep.
This one, it looks like, luckily, New England locked at -2.5 for the Sandman contest. So that's great. And everything else is kind of on the goofy side of the number, unless you like underdogs this week. If you're big in Chicago having a 12th miracle happen on their field, or you're into San Francisco's 17 players they have left, well, then you get a fun hook. But other than that, you're staring down some rough numbers.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's gonna be fun to take a look at this and see how it plays out because these numbers haven't moved a lot, right? I mean, from where
No.
they opened to where they're at, they're hanging out pretty close. Probably the biggest movement has been that New England Houston game where it's moved from two and a
Uh-huh.
half to 3.5. So, but we'll visit that here in
Yeah.
just a minute, Brandon. We got to take a look at how we did last week in our rankings.
Yeah.
We ranked 1 to 5 or 1 to 7. Two of them didn't play. You'll see I adjusted the slide. We got these arrows out of here. This side is yours. This side is mine. We have some fun stuff on the board, Brandon. You have 27 points that were available after the scoring. So the Broncos for 7, the Bills for 5. You've got the Patriots at 3, Texans at 2, and then look at you. And the NFC, you dropped your 7, 6, and 5 teams, leaving yourself only 1 through 4. That's good picking for as far as ranking goes, man. That's pretty impressive.
That looks good. The AFC is going to be touch and go for me since I've got the two teams playing each other in the upper and the lower segment of that graph. So best case scenario, I end up with, I guess, Buffalo and Houston out of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
But you're looking
probably
strong. You're looking strong over in the. You could still have your 1-2 come out available in the NFC.
yeah, and that's I mean, geez, it should sure hope that that's how this works out. Well, we'll have to see.
Well, I'm going to lose my 1 or my 3 and my 4 or my 5, so I'll have a little bit of edge there in the AFC. In the NFC, though, not quite the edge, but a little bit as we go into this, and we're just going to keep adding to it, guys. It's just a fun little thing to see where our rankings are, how we
Oh, yeah.
did during the playoffs, who's the best, who's the worst. Um, I will say successfully, both my number one seeds moved on, even though the Seahawks didn't play.
Yeah.
I'll take that win.
Well, and you got the Rams through, you know?
Yep, got the Rams through, so we'll see. Big games this week. We're going to go through all the games, Brandon. We're going to kind of break them down and discuss them. Give our viewers what they think they need to see to be prepared. We'll give you what our lines are, what we make the numbers, and then ultimately we'll give you some plays, see what we think, and wrap up today. It's going to be a quick episode for us, but let's start uh, in Denver. Right, Denver had a bye. And Buffalo went down to see sunshine and trounced.
Uh-huh.
Covers has this at a -1 for Denver right now. What's your line make this?
Hey, I make Buffalo like a 4.5 point favorite before home
Yeah,
field advantage. So let's call it 3. Denver's got a pretty good home field, so maybe even a less than a 3, but still
yeah,
plenty above this +1 or my this will jump back and forth
yeah.
over the
But I don't think
0.
it's going to
But
jump a lot. I mean, it's. What do you think it's going to be? A half? You think it's going to be 1.5? You think it's? I mean, where do you think this thing will end up setting?
I think
You
it'll
think
be
it'll
one and
swing
a
all the way
half
back to
on one
Buffalo?
side or the other.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think ultimately, playoff wise, you can't tie. So I think they will figure out a way to get it to the 1.5. And, you know, I think the late money will come in on Buffalo and they'll probably end up being the 1.5 point favorite. But, we'll see. What's your numbers make it?
my numbers make it 3.1 for Buffalo, so I'm right there with you. I just have, my rankings. I did go back and I did this last week as well, and it actually played out pretty interesting. Um, Last week of the how many games were there last week? 6 games, I think. No, one,
Yeah.
two, three, four. Yeah, I
It was
was
6.
1, 2, 3. I was 4-2 last week. My numbers projected out correctly. What I did is I went back to week 16, so kind of before the nonsense started, and I locked in my things like differentials, offensive points per play, defensive points per play, plays per game. Kind of took the noise out of this with guys resting and
Yeah.
whatnot, and it actually helped my numbers tighten up a little bit. So I did the same thing this week. I left them in week 16. Um, Adjusted some of the power rankings, adjusted some of the quarterback and head coaching values for who's left, and Denver at a plus 3.1. So Buffalo is favored for me. I will be playing on Buffalo this week. I'm not going to take that risk that Bo Nix is going to get it done. And I've actually sat here on this program and said I like Bo Nix, and I still like Bo Nix. And probably secretly, I'm going to kind of root for him a little bit for a good game. But I kind of like
Sure.
the idea of Josh Allen as well. Just to give you a little bit of feedback though on this, my little birdie numbers tell me that there's been 30,000 bets placed on this game already. We're at Wednesday at 8 p.m. and 59% of the bets and 61% of the money so far has come in on Buffalo.
Okay. So that's pretty even.
Yeah, so that's a mix of
It's not
casinos and
getting way out of
DraftKings.
whack.
Not terribly. It does look a little out of whack though when you look at our grids, and it shows Broncos at only 39% of the money as a home favorite. So I think you're going to see some adjustments there. That's not going to be sustainable. And so watch that as betting advice goes. Watch and see where those numbers push through. If you really like Buffalo, this is actually the kind of week, guys, that I'm a proponent of teasers. If you play in books that allow a teaser, because if Buffalo's sitting right now at a +1 and you could tease them and get it to a +7, even 6.5 to a +7.5, and then couple that with some over unders you believe in, or maybe even another game. Maybe you don't think the 49ers are going to get beat by 14.5. That would take that number up to 13.5. You could take the Texans up to 10. You could take the Bears up to 10 almost. Um, there's 11. That's some pretty big numbers for playoff games. I'd like to think that that's a possibility for some guys if you're interested in at least taking a flyer on a teaser.
Yeah, I think that, depending on you know, um, how many point teaser you want to try to work through, but we've got that college game that's hanging out there on Monday night, sitting
Yeah.
around 8.5 right now. So, the
Well, there's
same that you
another
could
one,
look
right?
at Buffalo here. And if you like the Seattle side, you can bring that 7 or 7.5 way down. You can get through a lot of the key numbers. The goal, obviously, with the teaser is to make sure that you're capturing the 3 and the 7, basically,
Yes.
so that you can mathematically have enough expected value to make up for the vig on the bet. But
I've
yeah,
always
we've got a
heard,
couple here.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've always heard don't push it through the zero. So like
right.
the Rams, for example, at a -4, even let's say you moved it 6, going to a +2 doesn't do you any good, really.
No.
It doesn't give you a lot of room. So pushing through the zeros not great. I think the other one is pushing through is it the 10 or the 8? Maybe it's the 10. Like sitting at an 11 doesn't do you a lot of good. You need to make it count. So like that Seattle and San Francisco is a great one, right? If you moved it, you could get Seattle basically as a pick 'em, or you could get San Francisco where Seattle's going to have to thump them. And maybe
Yeah.
you don't think that's going to happen to a division rival. So a lot of cool
Yeah, and
opportunities
that's a
there.
risky one. I like the side of drawing down Seattle, but I
Yeah,
do worry that if the wheels start to come off for San Francisco, they might just go flying.
yeah, they
So I,
could.
I would I would slightly worry about trying to try to drive that number up. I
Yep,
think I think the goal, if you're liking San Francisco, I think this is one of those games where you take the money line.
yep,
I think, I might as well make 3 times my money because I don't know that any amount of points is really going to get you there when it comes down to it. That, like, if
yeah.
Seattle's game plan, what, 2 weeks ago, we watched this scenario where everybody was max motivated. Darnold didn't play a great game,
Hmm.
but San Francisco got held to what, a field goal?
Yeah.
So there's a real chance where if, the offense plays a little bit better, with Kittle gone, I don't know,
No
even with,
Kittle.
you know, Trent back, that, like,
No Kittle.
San
Big deal.
Francisco's offense is going to do exceptionally better. Like, I get it, for a playoff game, it's hard to run it up higher than about 7.5, but I don't know, other than just being scared of both
The show now.
Darnold and Kyle Shanahan on the other side, to go, like, what if that magic works on this quarterback and they just whip him? Okay,
I don't
but
see it happening.
I think you can. I think this is a 14-point game if it just plays out the, the way that it just did play out, the way that San Francisco played in Philly. Like, I think if they play the exact same game against Seattle, they lose by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. I feel like this whole thing's going to be played out pretty straight for me. And I just want to also make the comment that if you like teaser bets and parlays, they're not the way to win. They just don't hit as frequently. Straight bets are a better way to go. But They are fun to dabble with if you think you can, if you think you have an edge. So
Well, and there's some narrow opportunities where they're plus EV. You
yeah,
know, you can get there with the numbers where at the very least you the odds that you're getting are a higher payout than the true odds of it hitting. So, you take a swing at it. Obviously, it's harder to hit, but if you have that edge, then I don't know, get out there and get after it.
Brandon, we need to run an algorithm that says what kind of edge could we get in our uh, pick'em leagues by finding the opposite side plays at a book. Now, we've never really had this to our advantage before, where we've had another outlet to counterbalance it.
Yeah,
It might be interesting to see, like, oh, hey, we're going to put this as a high weight and a press, but I'm going to come back the other way here on like a parlay or a teaser and get the value out of it. And then I'm going to win either way and maybe even get lucky in middle some.
yeah. There's definitely a nice chance. Like I've
It's a
always
lot of
wondered
math.
about that with the Super Bowl. Like once they legalized it in Illinois, there was always a question in my mind of like, because again, surprising nobody. Um, I get to the Super Bowl and then I shove the pedal to the floor and go like I'm either going to make up ground or I'm going to get away from people or whatever, or maybe it'll all fall apart right in front of me. Um, but I always thought like, hey, you can directly hedge. If you're only
Yeah.
making, most of the time, I just make one bet on the Super Bowl. I either take
Yeah.
the side or I take the over under, and I just let it fly with that. Um, so you would have a very direct opportunity to go, hey, here's what I can go up, here's what I can go down. I'm just gonna chop it the other direction a little bit. You don't want to cut yourself 50-50 and go like I'm
No.
basically breaking even either way. What's fun in that? But you can extract a little bit of the value and go, here, we'll play this the opposite direction for a little bit of points and just, smooth it out a little bit if it goes the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, and they do it all the time in the big contests in Vegas,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they even
Yeah.
they even have whole shows on how people are calling and trying to scramble to get hundreds of thousands of dollars together with family
Yeah.
and friends to hedge, because if they lose out on their share, if their split would have been like 1.5 million, if they come the other way, they could still win 500,000. And then if they lose, then
Yeah.
they get the 1.5 million. And if they win, they get 500,000 or whatever it is. So betting the $150,000 is worth it because they're going to pay them back plus some interest. So there's all these people running around trying to get credit lines into Vegas to hedge on those, which that's
Yeah.
kind of
And
cool when you think about it.
it's a great argument. It's a very good use of hedge. Like when you get down to the last game, doing a direct hedge, like you are just eating out of your profits either which way.
Absolutely.
It just is what it is. But if you have something like that, or you have, futures tickets. I was listening to
Yeah.
somebody, earlier today that like they grabbed Indiana way back and then they grabbed Miami like right at the end of the year. And they've got like plus, 400 plus on both of them. So
Yeah.
either way, and you have kind of that natural hedge there that you didn't even know that you were going to end up with at the time that you made the bet. Or, hey, if you took, you know, Houston to win the AFC a couple of months ago, then you're probably holding something that's intrinsically worth, you know, 8 or 10x what you put into it, where you can start hedging against that and you can
Yeah.
lock in some like real dollars, going the other direction because you have something that has an intrinsic value so much higher than what you put into it. So
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely anybody that's got out there and they're sitting on any futures, this is a great opportunity to be down to 8 teams to go, okay, is whatever I have the future on bumping up against somebody that has long odds so that I can, even if you do a mechanical bet of going, hey, San Francisco, if that's your hedge and you can lay a certain number of dollars this week, and if somehow they win, then you have the opportunity to put more money on them next week when they're probably going to be an underdog. And, you can work your way into, a good chunk of extraction from the hedge on, whatever that would be if the Rams ultimately end up winning or, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. Oh, so that's a good uh what are we just ran completely off the rails there. But
Hey, look, we only got 5 games. So I got
that
all these thoughts bouncing around in my head after watching every football game go the wrong direction last week.
just completely went off the
I got
rails, but
things
it was all good stuff. It all
Yeah,
actually is related to what we're trying to accomplish here. So anyway,
yeah,
we both have Buffalo.
yes.
We both are going to recommend Buffalo. Our numbers say it. Let's bounce to the evening game. That is San Francisco going up to Seattle. I kind of get the feeling, just based off a couple of comments, you like Seattle. I don't know that for sure, but what's your number say?
My numbers are horrible on this. My numbers
Yeah.
are real short on Seattle. Even if I go back, I did the same thing that you did, where I kind of locked in at 16 and I kind of am now building a matrix of what it looks like at 16, 17, the 18, the wild card round. So, like I unfortunately, if I go back to say week 16, I made
Yeah.
San Francisco like a half a point favorite before home field
Okay.
advantage.
Okay.
So, and then San Francisco obviously trends off from there. And my numbers are Seattle's staying pretty flat. So at this point, I've got Seattle as like a 3.5 point favorite if I want to run it right up to real time. But we all sat there and watched that game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know. I don't know what different happens when you go, I'm going to go ahead and take Kittle off of the Niners.
Yeah.
And we just watched a game where they won because Philly basically quit. They
Oh yeah.
basically just went, not screw it. Like, what happens if, you know, high school quarterback Juwan Jennings doesn't throw a Willie Mays pass to CMC? Like, that broke the whole game. Now, they were probably always going to cover,
Yeah.
but, they only won by 4 points. And they got
Yeah.
7 of them off of that crazy pass. So I just have a hard time leaning on my numbers here. Um, yeah, I don't. What do yours end up looking like? I know you make adjustments for like injuries and stuff.
Yeah, mine's sitting right now, Seattle at -5. So I'm not
Okay.
too far off of the line. Um, I probably didn't adjust enough for the Kittle injury. If I did that, I'd pop that into my adjustments, and I think that that'd probably put me right around 5.8. So Seattle 5.8. I have to believe that there's a little bit of bias in there. Week off. People seeing some of the same things. San Francisco, are they really that good? Are we looking at 2 weeks ago? So I think they're probably legitimately a 5 point. This is a 5 point game. I could see the score of this game being 29-24 or 31-26 pretty easily. It worries me a little bit because the injury and what that Seattle defense can do. So right now, the line that I'm seeing is hanging out around 7.5. If
Yeah.
this would lock in our leagues at 6.5, man, I'm probably rolling pretty hard with Seattle. 7.5 makes me just a tad bit nervous because Vegas gets paid a lot of money to make sure these things are close, and in the playoffs, they're pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So while yes, I agree with your sentiment that there probably is going to be Seattle has no reason not to win this game big. Um, I don't know. I just it makes me nervous. But it's in Seattle. Seattle's going to play great. I'm probably going to roll with Seattle. I love the 7. I love the 6.5. I hate the 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to hate the 7.5, right? Because you feel like Seattle's the right side, and 6.5 is just daring you to go, yeah, just go ahead and lay it. And
Yeah.
like, I, it does. It's the 7.5 bothers me, but it feels like one of those ones that like, if if every scenario that you kind of put together that is something outside of, fourth down jump man passes, um,
No.
you go, Seattle, they proved it. I came in here 2 weeks ago and went,
Yeah.
this is where Kyle Shanahan takes advantage of McDaniel and where Darnold finally has his hiccup, his severe hiccup. Um, and then, they just smothered him. They did just enough. And it makes me worry when you have a young coach like that up in Seattle where you go, a dominant game like that you only win by 10 points, I go, is that guy doing like the Andy Reid thing where he doesn't show any of the plays? He goes, we're just, as long as they don't start moving the ball, I ain't going to show them any of the crazy shit that I have in the bag. And then
Yeah.
we get to this week, and then chaos starts. And you got JSN just wide open places running with the ball. And just, you know, I, this feels like one of those games where you go, I don't like the 7.5. And then it's the middle of the first quarter and it's like, and nothing. And you're like, oh, okay. Like this is going to be absolute nonsense. Like Seattle's
Yeah.
going to do, it's going to be like the Indiana game with Oregon. Like you start going down that road of going, oh, they're going to do whatever they feel like doing, and they'll go ahead and call it off whenever they feel like calling it off. So
Yeah.
I don't
They're
know.
just going to
That's
drop them.
where, yeah. And just, hey, our real match is, whoever comes out of Sunday night, now we got to start getting ready for those guys, sort of thing. So I don't really go like, hey, here is the exact advantage that they're going to take, but watching what their game plans have been, just going, if the regular game plan goes the right way for both of these teams, Seattle probably pulls away, in my mind.
Yeah. No, I can see that, and I'm following with that for sure. Um, they won by 10 last time.
Yeah.
They played Carolina, which is a playoff team. They won by 17. They played the Rams, which they won by 1. They played the Colts, they won by 2. They played the Falcons, they won by 23. Minnesota 26. Tennessee 6. They finished the season strong, scoring a lot of points, giving up a little. Over the last, outside of the Rams 37, they're just not giving up. They're giving up less than their average. Their average is 17 points a game. They're giving up 3, 10,
Yeah.
16, 9, and 0. So that defense is really firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And I don't see where San Francisco has the offense to combat it. I mean, could McCaffrey run wild? Yes. But
Yeah.
listen, Purdy's fine. Jenkins is fine. The offense doesn't run through all around Kittle. It kind of does run through him a little bit. But if
Yeah.
they make a conscious decision in that defense to take McCaffrey out of the game, then and say we're going to make Purdy beat us, I think they're going to get in trouble. I think the Niners have trouble because Purdy is prone to throw
It,
interceptions.
yeah. It makes it real hard. I mean, both of these guys have a nice history of having many very good games, both quarterbacks. And then both of them have a couple of examples where the wheels start falling off. And, you know, it, the problem in my mind for the line is that if nobody's wheels fall off, then what happens? And it just seems like the Seattle defense is what then puts their mark on what the game ends up being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and I like these numbers here that I pull these things down from covers, guys. Um, the last 10, I like their 9-1 straight up at 7-3 against the spread. But the Niners are 7-3 against the spread too. So I mean, this is a good matchup for a reason. They're both here for a reason. I do lean towards Seattle. We'll see if there's any movement. As far as betting goes out there, right now, 75% of the bets and 64% of the money is on San Francisco. Only 36% of the money is on Seattle, and that's with 29,700 bets in. So that is a lot of the 7.5 causing the problem. If too
Yeah.
much money comes in on San Francisco, it might drive that number down a little bit to try to get the
Yeah.
balance back, and that would actually be good for all of us.
Yeah. The consensus line is showing at 7 right now.
Yeah. If they could get it
So,
off that 7, that would be beneficial.
yeah.
Anyway, so that's the thoughts. Moving into Sunday, the early show is at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's that big matchup out there that we've been talking about. How Houston just totally browbeat the Steelers, but then New England looking stout as ever with their new Tom Brady and Drake May and Vrabel. How do we feel about Houston going up there? Are we going to see that same defense, or are we going to see Vrabel and company really slow it down and keep them from being able to do what they did to Rodgers, which was basically chase him all over the field?
Yeah. I just don't see how the front four for Houston causes anywhere near the same problems for May. Um, May's he's got wheels. Like, it's not like he's fast, but the guy knows how to keep his balance and make it downfield. And I
It's not
think
44.
Houston's thing, yeah, well, for sure that, but just even, when you look at, you know, you got certain guys that, hey, Jaden Daniels, you let him in the open field, he's gonna run away from you. But you got May coming out and he's got, reasonable speed. It's not like he's, Peyton Manning or something, but uh,
He's
he's
like
got that
Mahomes,
balance.
right?
Yeah, yeah, he's got a little bit of that. He doesn't quite run as straight up and down, but
No.
he he does give his offense the availability to say, hey, as long as you guys handle these front four, I can hit my back step and then I can either get the ball out or start looking for somewhere to move to. And we shouldn't have the kind of problems that Pittsburgh eventually ran into where everybody's right up around Rodgers' ear slapping at the ball. I can't imagine we go through an entire week of prep and Vrabel doesn't spend a considerable amount of his time just going like Drake. You hit your back step and then you do something. If you stand back there, one of these four guys will eat your lunch. You have to decide to do something and protect the ball while you're doing it. And as long as he does that, Houston just does not have the offense. You want to
No.
believe in CJ Stroud. I
Yeah.
I loved watching him last year. I made an incredible amount of cool points and money off of Houston this year. As soon
Yeah.
as I caught wind that this defense was just screwing people up, I rode them through the year. But when you get down to this, you have to have a quarterback now. You can have an elite defense, and it is super helpful. You can elevate an above average quarterback with a great defense. I don't think you could do the thing like the 2001 Ravens, whatever that team was way back when. You can't take a Trent Dilfer to the Super Bowl
No.
anymore. It's just it's just the way it works. Um, so unfortunately, as square as this looks, I don't know how New England is not the lock of the week for me. How are you looking at
Yeah.
it?
I've got New England at a 4.1 favorite. So my number says don't be scared of the 3.5. Um, and I agree with your assessment. While CJ Stroud is probably a better quarterback than Trent Dilfer, he's not as good a game manager as Trent Dilfer was. He may be a little more athletic, but he's going to make more mistakes. You see him
Right.
fumble the
You're
ball. You see
exactly
him make
right.
So he's going to turn the ball over. And the one thing the Ravens defense back in '01 could count on was Dilfer wasn't going to do that. I think they had Jamal Lewis running the ball. They could run the ball. They could do little
Yeah.
bitty play actions, dumps. They didn't have a guy. Dilfer had been there long enough to know not to press. CJ Stroud is still trying to prove to everybody that he's the man. And he's been here, he heard he was the man, he heard he was the man, and he had a bad second year. Now he's in the playoffs again. He's trying to prove that he's the man, and he's got this new guy, this Drake, and they're going to be chanting MVP in the stands. And they're going to be, he's having to face this young guy that's coming in trying to take his title. He thought he was rightfully the next heir to the Mahomes, the Allen, these guys, Burrow. He was going to be the next young one that was going to get this. So he's going to be trying to prove himself, and I think he's going to make mistakes. And I think New England's defense is strong enough to make him make mistakes. I hope Christian Gonzalez is back. I think he's one of the best defenders in the league as far as a
Yeah.
corner goes. I know he was out. Um, if if Gonzalez is back and Nico Collins doesn't play because of the head injury, then Kirk is eliminated. They only have to worry about Dalton Schultz, and New England might win this game by 10. I say that because I think Vrabel will be able to do what the Steelers could not do as far as slowing the pass rush down by doing two things: having a little bit more structured screen game and a little bit more structured quarterback run game that's going to put isolated one-on-one pressure against the backers. You brought up a good point earlier. We were talking, Brandon. You were talking about they kept running these wide receiver screens. While those
Uh-huh.
hit for a pop or two, you can't live on it as your bread and butter. And you cannot do it against the Texans because that fast pass rush, they have that Petrie and that Daryl Stingley Jr., and those guys are good at blowing up those kind of plays. And so if you can mix one in here or there, but I swear every time they tried to run that play, that Petrie was there blowing shit up. So they've got to do it a little bit more with tight ends behind. And New England has one elite tight end in Hunter Henry. They got another one. I can't think of his name. But I think between that, two sound running backs in Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, I really think that they have the weapons that the Steelers didn't have to slow down that pass rush. And you brought it up earlier to me when we were off camera. Houston doesn't like blitzing. They like running with their four. And if they
Yeah.
have to resort to taking guys out of coverage to get pressure on May, this thing's over because the Patriots are already ahead at that point that they actually make that adjustment.
Yeah.
So that's
No, it was,
that's my 2 cents.
there was a great point. Earlier when we were talking, brought up that like if he could just figure out a way to step up in the pocket, make that linebacker make a choice, and then layer the ball in over their head to whatever running back or tight end or crosser you have going, it it messes up Houston's entire thing. So yeah, I don't know exactly what the argument for Houston has got to be. I'm looking for a 3.5, and that's a good number when it comes down to it. Look at this defense. And
Yeah.
I don't know that there's enough analysis behind that to get where you want to go with it.
Well, I can tell you this right now: there's 19,000 bets, and 59% are on the Texans, and 41 is on the Patriots. So everything that we've talked about so far, the money is not showing up on the side we're believing in, except
Yeah,
except Buffalo. So
which I
it's
love.
interesting. That makes me really happy because this tells me that there are people out there making bad decisions. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Ultimately,
it tells me that like either I'm going to be right or I'm going to catch everybody, or I'm going to be wrong, and I don't need to worry about this anymore. I'll have an enjoyable championship weekend and Super Bowl. Either way, if I'm out ahead of everybody, I can relax. If I'm busted, then we'll go for the three-peat next year.
that's fantastic. All right, well, that's going to be an exciting game. It's actually probably one of the ones I'm most excited to watch.
Oh, I'm pumped.
I'm pumped about all these games, but I'm actually pumped about Sunday night too, man.
Yeah.
Chicago, LA. Soft spot for the Bears. Wife's a Packer fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. When I was, I don't know, 11, the Super Bowl Shuffle was the song of it. We Are the Bears shuffling crew, man. I got to be
Uh-huh.
honest. I don't know if I told you this or not, but I told somebody I put like a $5 or $7 bet on like, I don't know, 2,400 to 1 of a Patriots Bears Super Bowl. It pays out like
Oh,
300 bucks. I thought it would be a
okay.
fun play just to throw it out there as a future, for nostalgia that the Bears played the Patriots back in Super Bowl 20. I thought, well, why
Yeah.
not, man? I'm gonna throw it out
Yeah.
there. But anyway, Bears Rams. So my numbers on Bears Rams have the Rams favored in this by 4.8. And looks like right now it's hanging out around 4. I've seen some at 3, 3.5. So really, my numbers are telling me that the Rams are the side to play in this. That they're not getting enough credit. They should be favored in this, and the Bears' magic's going to run out. Do I believe that? I don't know necessarily. I don't think it's easy for a West Coast team that plays indoors and has a guy named Puka from Hawaii on there. I think he's from Hawaii. But they got Puka and they got Devontae Adams, who doesn't like the cold. And then he started his career in Green Bay and has played nowhere else cold. He keeps dancing around the South. Um, and then you got Stafford, who's traditionally a dome guy, and he's old and brittle. I don't know necessarily that I love the situation here for the Rams. And mostly because they feel a little Jekyll and Hyde-ish the last 4 or 5 weeks. Um, Man, they're a little bit like Buffalo, right? They should be kicking the
Uh-huh.
crap out of everybody, but man, they play a bad half or they play a bad quarter or they hurt themselves with stupid penalties and they can't get out of a hole. And all of a sudden, Stafford's trying to wing them down and throw them back in it, and he's forcing balls to Puka. And the Bears are doing shit, and it's cold, and that crowd is coming down on them, and they're throwing snowballs, and I don't know, man. There's part of me that looks at this and says, take the home dog and see if there's any magic left in the tank. What's your number say?
Yeah. My number, unfortunately, it makes Chicago a small favorite,
Okay.
which I don't, particularly believe in. If I go all the way back to week 16, I have the Rams as like a half a point better. But since
Yeah.
then, both the numbers have degraded, but Chicago's at much slower pace. So like the pure number is Chicago by 2.2 today. So getting 3.5 or 4, depending on where everything ends up locking in, seems like the right play, right? But
Mm,
I
I know it doesn't seem
I
right though.
I just I have the opposite look where I go, yeah, the Rams have some sort of problem with Carolina. I don't know what that is. But outside of that, they have played around with their food a little bit in certain games. Um, But they
This is coming from a
they
dad
have
of a 2-year-old.
yeah, they've they've been able to a lot of times look like they're undefendable. And Chicago's defense is just a maze of positive variance, right? Like if you look it down and you go, okay, here's all these the points that they're giving up, and then they're just getting turnovers at the right time, or they're just continuing to score touchdowns. And I just don't see McVay getting up and then getting stupid and making dumb mistakes and not getting the right calls to kill the clock and all those sorts of things. I stare at this more and more. This is the one that I've stared at the most because when Chicago covers, I'm never on them. And I don't, the only thing that I can amass it to is that when I watch their games, they don't play well. And then they just end up winning. And do you get to do that in the divisional week of the playoffs? You got to go interdivision, and Green Bay, for the second time in 3 weeks, shit down their leg and just gave the game away.
Yeah.
Are the Rams going to do that? Yeah, you're definitely right. The outdoor weather, that sucks. That bothers me quite a bit. 18 degrees outside, 16-mile-an-hour wind, 15% chance precipitation. That's unpleasant. But what if they just
Well,
run it down their throat?
let's be honest though. Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze are California kids, and
Yeah.
Luther doesn't like the cold. So, I mean, you might Loveland is fine. He likes it. He's a Michigan guy. He's cold. That guy. I don't even know where Monungai's from, but just saying his name makes me happy and makes me feel like he's that guy. I mean, I can't hardly listen to an announcer not go Monungai without being like, yes. And I think most announcers have that same thing. So I just wanted to say Monungai while we were here talking because I like saying his name. But I don't know that the Bears are the monsters of the Midway Bears. They have Caleb Williams from USC, and they have Rome
Yeah.
Odunze, Oregon, from California originally. It's not like they're this cold weather team who's trained and to be in this stuff. Now they play
No,
there a
but at
little
least
bit
they
more
deal with it a little
frequently.
more. Yeah. You get a little
Yeah.
more used to it. Not to mention that you have the travel. The same thing that we talk about with San Francisco and Houston,
Yeah.
you have the Rams. Had to go East Coast, come home, go to Chicago. Actually, who knows? Maybe they stayed in Chicago. I ain't real sure. I haven't looked into it.
They may be
But
up there
either which
practicing
way,
outside all week.
they're having to move around the country while Chicago plays at home and then plays at home. So, you know, that helps you just being at home. Again, it's one of those numbers that you go, hey, if you believe in it, a lot of the people are going to be on the other side of you. If it locks at 3.5 or it gets even higher, you're going to have people leaning on Chicago for the sake of just, hey, this is the right number to take it at.
Yeah.
But I think the Rams, if you play it out, both of them doing what they want to do, the Rams get some margin.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Vegas has lined this up to be a sucker bet, knowing that everybody's going to bet on Chicago. I really think this is lined up as a sucker
Yeah.
bet. So that being said, 66% of the money and 66% of the bet, 67% of the money's on the Bears right now. So it's doing exactly as Vegas wants it to do. And even with all of that money on the Bears, it keeps going up.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, it's a good sign.
So
It's a good, like when you're looking at numbers like that and it just keeps moving,
it's a Ram
against
play.
where the money's coming in, that like the books are taking a stance, at least at this point. We'll see. Maybe they have other liabilities on both those teams that they have to hedge against, it very well could be. But I don't know. At the very least, we're moving in the right direction there.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Actually, all four are going to be fun to watch. I plan it's going to be cold here in St. Louis. I plan on probably doing nothing for 3 days and doing nothing but watch football Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We have Monday Night Football. Brandon, what do you think of this one?
Yes.
Are you team
This
Indiana
is
or
gonna be
team
exciting.
Miami? Yeah.
I'm forced to be team Indiana at this point. I still don't. Look, Miami won that Ole Miss game. It was a bad Hail Mary, right? What did you think? When they go, all right, they get the ball clocked and they're like, we're gonna throw it to the fucking end zone. I've never seen a guy run to the short side of the field and try to throw it down the sideline. I don't know what
Yeah.
that was. Like, I don't know if that's a specific play that, I mean, look, if if the defensive back didn't have a hold of his collarbone, maybe he comes up with that. It's just, you're painting him into a very small corner to get it back there.
Very.
I don't know. It jumped off the page to me where I work with an Ole Miss fan, and she was just like, "Oh, I guess we don't call pass interference anymore." And I'm like, I have a hard time arguing that because you go like, yeah, well, on Hail Marys, but it wasn't a Hail Mary. That dude was still running. They didn't get set and like everybody jumped for it. He threw like a
No,
rail
that was
ball.
not a Hail
Like
Mary.
that dude was running full speed. The other side was probably set up like a Hail Mary. I don't know how fast everybody got down the field, but 3/4 of the players were on that side of the field. And he just rolled to the
Yeah.
short side and just threw it into the corner. And, I think it's kind of crazy, especially in college, since you don't get it on the one, um, to not throw a flag on that. But, it is what it is. It's hard for me to go, hey, we're just gonna keep just overpowering people on defense. Carson Beck did not play well. He did enough,
No.
but like
Yeah.
he's not playing well. Their run game did pretty well, at least for a while, and then they went away from it. But Indiana, watching, especially this Oregon, they just went like, "This is what we're gonna do," and every play
Yeah.
just did it. I don't. It was like watching somebody play Madden by the end of that game. So
It was
I just, for me,
unbelievable.
like I don't originate numbers around college really, but I don't see why you don't lay the 8.5.
Yeah. To me,
It-
I'm laying it. If nothing else, because um, I just feel like Indiana's more mature and more disciplined,
y-
and is
Yeah,
not going to. If things would happen to get crooked on them, they're not going to quit, and they're not going to fall apart, and they're not going to start fighting against each other on the sidelines. And the
yeah,
minute Miami has controversy or they fall behind, there's going to be finger pointing. You're going to have Michael Irvin screaming at some teenager. You're going to have, the coach over there, Cristobal, arguing, spending all of his time paying attention to the refs and not paying attention to his team. Miami's designed to be kumbaya when they're winning, and when they're not, it's going to fall apart hard. And I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. I don't care. I think that Mendoza's going to march up and down the field on them. I don't. I don't think they're going to touch this kid, and I think Indiana's offensive line is going to teach Miami that they're not quite as good as they think they are. I mean, Indiana's offensive line has taught Oregon twice and Ohio State, and you
uh-huh.
can't tell me those schools aren't blue bloods. Miami's not as good as those teams, top to bottom. Now they're not
Uh,
bad, right? Hey, they're in the national championship game, but when you talk about it, these are ACC players, not Big Ten players, not SEC players. When push comes to shove, for some reason, and a lot of it's the portal, right? We know this. Indiana picked up a lot of
Yeah.
good offensive linemen out of the portal. They got that one guy that's their anchor from Notre Dame. Ultimately,
Right.
they are not messing around on that offensive line. Mendoza doesn't have a scratch on him. Dude looks like he's barely broke a sweat playing Oregon. I mean, he was
Right.
busy working with his teeth and putting makeup on the sidelines in the fourth quarter for all of his interviews. I mean, it was ridiculous how unbothered he was by everything. So, yeah, I do think Miami can get to him a couple times, but I think for the most part, they're not going to touch him. They're just not.
Well, and here's the thing to keep in mind. Normally, go ahead and fret over what the line is. But if you look back and look at these championship games, whether we go back to the 4-team playoff, usually your champion just pulls away. Look,
Yeah.
if you wanna go, hey, I think Miami can win this game, then go for it. That's a good number. 275, 300, something around there. Perfect. Take take the multiple of your bet. But just to go, I'm gonna grab 8.5 for in case this turns into a dogfight. Probably not. And any history shows us, the way that these brackets kind of move people together when we know football is all about matchups. And we used to have that, right? You'd get down to 2 teams and you go, these are the 2 best teams. We're gonna have them play each other. But when you do this and you
Yeah.
go, hey, we're gonna randomly grab everybody from their different divisions, and then we're gonna take some at-large bids, and we're gonna then Miami gets to take advantage of, hey, we played Ole Miss, we played Ohio State. I can't remember who they played first weekend. Sorry.
Texas A&M, I think.
But yeah,
And
yes, Texas A&M. Um, that those matchups worked. And I think this one isn't. And just because they both got to the championship doesn't mean that the line needs to be close together, like when we get deep into the NFL playoffs.
yeah, agreed. No, absolute. College is a different animal. So
Yeah.
different animal altogether, Brandon. So that's it. That's what we got for our show, man. It's you know, just 5 games, but they're going to be outstanding games. A lot of fun to watch. Good luck on all your bets. I hope that in Ben Harper you overtake the lead. Either that or
Here's
you're going
hoping.
to sit with me with a bankrupt
Yeah.
bankroll just a few weeks later.
Yeah. We're going to be able to just focus on the pick 'em leads if this doesn't work out. But we're going
Yep.
guns blazing.
All right. Well, hey, we're the St. Louis Syndicate. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you got a little insight out of it. Check us out on all of the Sandman Nation pods, and then make sure you check out those guys. They're having some good insight going on as well. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the Syndicate. See ya.
Cheers.